I have a job back home in San Jose. They needed someone who spoke good English because they're all like in their 40s and 50s and they all speak Cantonese and not a single lick of English. It's one of those places where like you're one white kid in an all Asian school. Last year I worked with 2 college students, San Jose State, and that was the best time I've ever had. So if you're not bilingual, it's really not fun not being able to talk to anyone.
We're back, the Coatedinacid podcast. Today we have Pat as a guest.
Hello.
So we're actually in a new setting right now. We're at his place. And luckily I have a portable setup, so I was able to bring it here. But yeah, so we have Pat, and Pat is kind of a friend from, I guess I met him in freshman year. And I guess I didn't hang out with Pat that much, but it was like a once a year thing. I hung out with you like once a year kind of thing. So yeah, we did meet in freshman year though, and I did reach out to him during the pandemic while we were all locked up but still in Zoom University. So, and yeah, now we're here with Pat, and this is potentially probably one of the last few times I'll see Pat, at least in a while, because he lives up north, Norcal. So, and this is Socal. So yeah. So, I mean, how's your last year go, man? Like, you're a business major, right?
Yeah, I'm a business major, business admin. It's good. It's been going all right, honestly. Looking for jobs, being an adult, that sort of thing. I haven't been like really. I'm kind of waiting until I go back because I have a job back home in San Jose. So right now I'm just kind of chilling, just kind of messing around and relaxing. I'm like enjoying the last few times that you would be a student, right? That's one of the things that everyone was telling me about was enjoy the time you have here, because when you're an adult, it's kind of a prison. It's actually exactly what they said. It's a prison. So I've just been kind of chilling. Yeah.
All right. So you have a job back north?
Yeah.
So what is the job?
It's I work at I worked there for the summer last year too. So it's a CNC machine shop. So they're like a contractor place, and they'll get hired by like intermediary manufacturing companies, like companies that will they'll make essentially any part. You give them a drawing and they'll make it for you essentially. So we are a subcontractor for that bigger company. We make the smaller parts, or we supply the smaller parts. So what my job specifically is inventory management and purchasing, inventory management, supplies. So I'm in charge of buying all the metals, all the bar stock and everything. And I'm also in charge of like dealing with any of the vendor concerns for some reason. I was hoping someone more qualified would be that, but no, it's a 20-year-old dude straight out of college. So I deal with the resources. I check the inventory, so I make sure if there's any bar stock that needs to be replenished, that I'm the one buying that. I'm the one bargaining with the suppliers to see if maybe we can get like a little bit better of a deal on the metals. And I also work kind of like in between everyone, so I'm in like the operations sphere. So I work with the sales side, and I work with the manufacturing floor. I kind of like connect the two. So it's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah. So is it like a part-time thing?
No, it'll be a full-time thing now. I did it in the summer full-time, and then now I'm doing it again full-time.
Okay, so was it like an internship, or was it an actual job?
It's kind of both. It's pretty much a job. It's just a job.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's good. So you're gonna work with them, I guess, when you move back up?
Yeah.
And how long do you plan to stick with that company?
Probably maybe like a year or so. And then I kind of want to hope I could go to like a different industry, honestly. I've been applying a lot into like the biopharmaceutical industry since I live in San Jose, and a lot of it is in the San Francisco Bay Area. Like Genentech and then some other companies, like the really big pharmaceutical companies, are all in SF. They're really nice, honestly. They have really, really nice amenities. And it's kind of difficult. I got 2 interviews from there. I applied to 20 of them. I only got 2 responses back. I didn't get any of them, unfortunately. So so honestly, but even in those like industries, I've been kind of looking at like the operations side, the the more manufacturing, technical, like product improvement sort of thing. So, yeah.
Okay, so wait, so you started last year during the summer?
Yeah, I started last year during summer.
So how did you get that job?
It was like I applied really. I applied, and someone in my family also works there, so they kind of gave me like a good referral. But then they needed someone who spoke good English first of all, because it's like a smaller company, it's like a lot of old people. Because machinists, like I don't know if you know this, but like machining is like a low-key a dying trade. It's a skilled trade, and not enough, like, I'm not sure if you know this, but like a lot of skilled trades are in low demand or in high demand because not enough people are joining it. So they're all like in their 40s and 50s, and they all speak Cantonese and not a single lick of English. So they needed someone who could speak English and could kind of communicate in Canton in like Chinese, because they needed like an outward facing face. So they just hired me because I spoke English. That was actually good. And I was working, even like when last year I was studying like operations management, so they just thought I was a good fit for that. And I learned a lot, honestly, from that. I learned a lot about mostly working like in between different teams, because I'll be honest, I think I messed up a couple times, and then I would like hold up entire orders because I was like the linchpin in between the two. So like the manufacturing floor couldn't work with anything because I screwed up something with the sales team or something. But it was a good experience overall. I'm happy. I'm glad I'm coming back.
Right. So was it one of those positions that says like bilingual preferred, or was it just?
I'm pretty sure it's like bilingual required, honestly.
Oh, required.
Not really. But like, it's one of those places where like, you're the one Asian kid in an all white school. You're the one white kid in an all Asian school. It's not fun. It's really not fun not being able to talk to anyone. Like, I'll be honest, last year I worked with two college students, San Jose State college students, engineers. And that was the best time I've ever had, because normally there is one American native, so who actually speaks English, two people who speak English. No one else speaks English. So it's about like 20, 30-ish people, and you'll talk to two people. So it was really not, it's essentially required.
Wow.
Because everyone speaks to each other in Cantonese or Chinese. And the only reason they need someone to speak English is to talk with customers. So if you're not bilingual, it's not fun. I feel like this translates to like any sort of monocultural environment. I feel like, I don't know if you've worked in that. I feel like that's a small business only sort of thing.
Right. So are you I guess like fluent in, was it Mandarin or is it Cantonese?
No, I'm terrible in both.
Oh, okay, but then you can kind of like get by?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's a lot of technical Chinese-ified words. It's like what's it called? Transliterated a lot of things. So like millimeter is just millimeters, and numbers is just numbers. So it's like how like babies kind of, really people not so good at the language, they'll kind of they'll use basic words, and then the other rest will just be in English.
Dang. So
I don't know are you like that with Korean, or do you speak Korean pretty well?
No, I'm not fluent Korean. I guess I can understand some of it. If it's like common things that people say all the time, then I can understand it. But then if like a random Korean lady comes up to me and starts speaking to me in Korean, then I won't understand like 90% of it. So, but yeah. So you were kind of like alone, I guess, or like when you like clocked in, you kind of just like stuck to your work, and you maybe communicated with like everyone else like a few words at a time, or?
Yeah, I mean, there was like kind of like a good. It wasn't. I would not say it was a bad work relationship. No. Everyone was great. It's just I couldn't connect with anyone. I think that's what it was. So like when the two San Jose State guys came in, it was like other college age people. That was literally it. Or someone who had American culture knowledge, and then we could just talk about like League of Legends or something. So that made the time pass a lot, because otherwise I would just be playing Flash games on my computer. If no one's looking, I just tab out I'll play like a strategy game or something, so I don't have to. It's not real time. And then someone comes in, I tab out, do my work. Yeah, it was pretty boring, honestly. Not being with anyone. Yeah, because before that, I actually worked at a Chinese restaurant back in high school. It was my uncle's Chinese restaurant, and again, no one spoke English because it was a Chinese restaurant. So it was kind of hard working there because no one was kind of really saying anything. Though they would speak to each other in Chinese, but I can't really understand them. They're using Chinese slang and everything. Yeah, so it was nice. It was not, but I, making the most out of it. You talk to other people. You talk to the customers. You talk to the vendors. You pretend to be happy. You hope, you smile at the camera, and you hope everything's okay. Yeah.
Right. So I actually had an internship in, I might have already, I'm not sure if I talked about this already with you, but in between November 2022 and March of this year. So it was actually in Irvine. It's actually pretty close to here. It's kind of like a 15-minute drive from here. But I had a internship called at a company called Arbitech, and it was very much so American. So like everybody was very American. I was kind of one of the few Asians there. So yeah, it was very American. And I guess at least in this area, like American demographic is like mostly like Latino, and then like white is like next, and then after that it's like, yeah, then it's like Asian. But yeah, I only knew one other Korean dude there. His name was Eric. But yeah, I was able to communicate with everybody like fine. Sometimes people spoke Spanish, but otherwise everyone spoke English. So that was my experience. And I was actually also in purchasing, but I was an intern. So I was a purchasing intern. Yeah, so I was also in purchasing. Although I didn't really purchase things, I more so did just put stuff into spreadsheets and then send it to the coworkers that I needed. So I kind of did like the very, was it dirty work, I guess, or like the very entry level work?
Data entry sort of.
Yeah, data entry. So although the title is purchasing, and on my resume I'm like, oh yeah, man, I communicated with all these vendors, even though that was like 10% of the time. But I agree. I also learned a lot from that. I stopped going there because I was starting to get burnt out, and I did want to have like another. If I did want to have something else like to do. I didn't want to keep doing that. So yeah, so I ended that in March, and then and yeah, ever since then I still haven't had like any form of employment. I've mainly just been making videos. Yeah, like I've made, this is I guess the 30th. This would be the 31st video out of the other 30 I've made. So I guess, yeah, part of it was me filming this podcast. I just want to start one, and I'll probably keep doing this for a really long time, but more so not quite consistently. Like right now, this is probably gonna be the last episode in a while. In a while, even though I have a bunch of guests lined up already, because I need to like focus on other things. That's more, I guess, worth my time, because this is more like a passion thing, or I don't see this as being more like a growth, or financial growth, or just even like YouTube growth. Like I would imagine more than like 20 people watching this, and maybe like 2 people will watch it the whole way through, but I doubt anybody, like there's not enough viewers for anyone to really watch this whole thing through. But yeah, so I've just been mainly doing YouTube this whole time, and I've learned a lot actually about YouTube. So yeah, I guess this will definitely be something I'll do for a long time, just making content, just having that skill of like editing, filming. Yeah, so, and who knows, I might have a career in this eventually, but right now I'm just trying to improve my skills and try to get like industry level. But yeah, so that's, in terms of careers, I guess that's what I'm doing right now. I guess technically my main hustle right now has been, well, I guess prior to like a month ago, it was it's like right now my main hustle is like going to church. So I've been, especially like this past month, I've just been like going to church a lot, because I have like a home church, and and it's a Korean church. But then I was introduced to an American church. It's called The Rock. I actually went to service today before coming here. But yeah, that I learned a lot just from coming here because it's a different denomination. So my home church is Presbyterian. This one's Foursquare. It's called Foursquare, and I Wikipedia'd it because I had no idea what that meant, and it's like Pentecostal evangelical. And then to sum up, I guess, to make it as quick as to make it simple, Christianity believes in the Holy Trinity. There's like three. There's like Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. Pentecostal is like, oh, the Holy Spirit's underrated. We gotta like put more emphasis on Holy Spirit. And then evangelical is, oh, we gotta spread the word too. We gotta tell as many people as we can about it. While Presbyterian is more by the book, where it's like, oh, what does the Bible say? What does Scripture say? Like, and they take studying Scripture seriously. So I feel like Presbyterian's more, I guess, on the stricter side. But this Foursquare church actually is like, it actually, I learned a lot because there are things that the Presbyterian church would talk about, such as like fearing God or oh god, I like blanked a little bit. Or self-denial, something called self-denial. There's this like line in the Bible that says like, deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow Jesus, where you literally deny yourself. You reject your flesh. Like your flesh wants things, your flesh craves things. And I didn't really understand it, but I was told that in my Presbyterian church, and I didn't understand it until I went to this Foursquare church, and they like understood. They gave me examples like in like the sermons, and I better understood. I was like, oh, that's what that means.
Could you give an example, for the podcast?
Okay, so like the fear of God.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why would you fear God? Because the fear I knew at that time was like, oh, like it's bad. It makes you like scared to do things. But so the analogy I was given at one of the sermons at the Foursquare church was like, let's say you're at the top of a cliff and you look down and you're like, whoa, and you back away from the edge. Fear is your friend there. Fear saved your life. And that's how you should treat the fear of God, right? The pastor, one of like the main pastor in my home church, the Presbyterian church, he actually gave me like a line from Psalms. I forgot which Psalm, but he was like, oh, you remind me of this one verse called "The fear of God is the key to wisdom." Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, and he after that too, he also had like a whole sermon dedicated to the fear of God, but I didn't really understand it. But now I'm like, oh, it's that kind of fear where, you know, you don't want to, like, if you're tempted to sin, you're too scared of God to sin, you know? So it's that kind of fear. It's like the fear that helps you. You know, it's the fear, like the evolutionary fear in us, except in this case, it's for, you know, the spiritual fear, and you don't want to sin, right? So, yeah, I've just learned a lot about Christianity, and American culture is actually very much so like filled with Christianity. Like our money has like "In God We Trust" on it, and we do the pledge of allegiance in school, and one of the lines is "One nation under God." So yeah. Also, I guess after my internship, I was kind of like left in a state of lacking purpose. I was like, man, is life really just making money and that's it? And, you know, and just having a family and, you know, having material goods. So yeah, and then I guess I've been going to Christianity and just learning about how they roll, especially the Bible, reading what the Bible says, and that's just like dropping all kinds of wisdom on me. And now I'm starting to realize, okay, so there is a purpose. I guess the purpose, the Christian explanation of the purpose would be to glorify God. The meaning of life is to glorify God. That's the Christian explanation. So yeah, I've just been exploring Christianity a lot more because I've just had the time to. Because when I was in my internship, I had barely any time to do anything. I was waking up at 5 every day, you know, going to work, and by the time I get home, it's like 4:00, and then I have to go to bed ideally by 9. So I only had like 5 hours to do, you know, eat, shower. You know,
that's really rough. That's unsustainable, honestly. You can't do anything else at that point.
But yeah, I realized like, oh, most Americans actually kind of live that way, where like most of their life is just for work. So although a lot of my friends, or like a lot of the people I talk to are like, oh, that was just like not a great job. You can find a better job that you'll find fulfillment in. But yeah, so that was just my experience with the job. And then that's why I'm kind of like, now I'm a lot more like, religious these days for sure. Like when I was in college, I was more like secular. The funny thing is, secularism tends to preach self-acceptance, and you accept everything that's about you. For example, like LGBTQ, you're like secularism's like, dude, if you're attracted to men and you're a man, like go for it, man. Like that's you, that's your identity. But then Christianity actually in the Bible says like, oh, you can't do that, right? That's a sin, right? So, but that's a sin, and then you should deny everything about yourself and follow what Jesus does and read the Bible and pray. And I'm like, wow, I actually growing up, I did grow up in a Christian household, but I didn't know that's what Christianity was all about, where you just deny, instead, rather than like if secularism, self-acceptance is Black Lives Matter, then Christianity is like no lives matter. That's kind of like the analogy there. So I would say they're both like valid ways of living, even though I guess Christianity is like it preaches that it's a much better way of living, because like the secular way of living is, oh, go by philosophy and be a human, have nice things, have money and stuff. But yeah, I guess I've just been more studying Christianity. That's been like my main hustle these days. Prior to at least this month, where before that it was just YouTube. Like, how do I get better at making YouTube videos? And I was just like obsessing over that, and I was making all kinds of videos, and I was like, I was an artist. I was a full-time artist, and I wasn't making money because my goal was to just improve. I also I've learned that depending on what your goal is, your strategy is different. So like, if my goal was to make money through YouTube, then my strategy would be completely different. I was doing everything wrong. But my goal was only just to improve. I just want to make better content. And I did make better content, I'd say. Like, I remember texting you, I was like, oh, I'm going to be 10% better. And I think I am 10% better, because I did do like a 1 month boot camp it was like an online, something called Creator Now. And this guy named Hayden Hillier-Smith, who's like a professional editor, and he just like dropped all like a super like really well done class. Like, I learned a lot from it, and it happened over the course of a month. I compared actually my most recent video to a video of a similar nature. My most recent video had like 10K views on this main channel, but then the last video I posted of a similar nature only had 1,800 views.
Was it your Korea mega church one? Which one was the 10K one?
It's actually it's a YouTube short. It's a short.
Oh, okay, I see. Is YouTube short like a better format for views? Like, let's say you're trying to min-max your views.
Yeah, it's
in general.
Definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah, you will get more eyes. More quantity over quality. Like, if you make good long form videos, you'll have more quality viewers but less actual viewers. But then shorts is like, oh, you're gonna get more eyes on your stuff, but then less people will actually care. Literally less than like 1% of the shorts viewers will actually care about your long form content, which actually makes the money, because you can monetize long form content, but on shorts you just swipe and there's not really many opportunities you could put ads on it.
Oh, I see. It's like a first step in the door, but then everything else is up the rest of your content.
Yeah, some channels are like mainly short form, and they have like, I've seen the most, like, they have like hundreds of millions of views and like tens of millions of subscribers, but their long form content only has like less than 1 mil. Like, each video has like less than 1 mil.
Wow.
So although it's better than having like a small channel, a huge shorts channel is still like not as good as like a huge long form channel. A long form channel is where the money's at. Although you can still make a pretty good living on like a super good like shorts channel, you can, but then in that case you would have to not make money from AdSense or monetization with ads. You would probably like promote a product or have merch or something. Yeah, so that's been my life, I guess, this summer, or this summer. Yeah.
I actually had a question about, like, you were kind of you were sharing the differences between the different Christianities, and like, I'm not Christian, I'm Buddhist, so like, there's a lot of differences, I feel like, in the mentality of what religion is in between like the Asian religions and the Western religions. I feel like when you talk about like fearing God, like Christianity seems like a very theoretical, belief centric religion. I don't know, maybe like your faith is what holds you together. Yeah. Whereas like in maybe like Buddhism or Hinduism, I feel like it's a very action centric religion where it's kind of more loose in what it is. Like there's a sort of, there's a karma and everything, and depending on it's just like the different types of Christianity, the different types of Buddhism, what they'll specify. There's like the Chinese, Korean, Japanese area. I think it's like Mahayana school. They're dependent on like spreading Buddhism so that everyone is like a lower form. Like, so instead of like, how people in Buddhism, the goal is kind of like reach enlightenment, right? That's what like Gautama Buddha did. He prayed under I don't remember which kind of tree, but he prayed under a tree. He became enlightened, all that stuff. So that's like the highest level. And then there's kind of like a lower level, like a human version of him, like a wish version of him, really. It's like the best a normal person can do, essentially. So like my parents' school or my family's school is like they're people trying to reach enlightenment, try to show, push everyone, not push, spread. They're trying to spread so that everyone is like a lower level enlightenment versus like the Indian, Mongolian schools is like individualism, almost like it's a kind of like secular versus Christian. It's like they promote individual enlightenment to the top, and that's where I think you see a lot of the asceticism that I think Buddhism is like associated with. Like the monks not eating very little, that sort of thing. I wonder if that's translated to how people think in their religions, whereas it's not that your beliefs govern your actions, but it's like that I guess it is your beliefs govern your actions. Oh, I guess it is the exact same way. And it's just that I don't know. I feel like it's less of your beliefs govern your actions as if it's your actions govern your beliefs. So, it's like don't kill, don't steal. All of those all religions kind of say the same thing about that. But it's like, I guess it's about the same. Yeah, no sexual misconduct, don't steal, no murder, all that stuff. But then, like, how would you compare Christianity to sort of something like Buddhism in the form that there's a lot less central guidance in Buddhism? Like they tell you a path, but there's not nearly as much importance on faith as there is on action. Like people will gauge you more on your actions more than your faith. What do you think about that?
So, I guess Christianity has the Bible, like that. That is like a really old book, and like over 2,000 years old, and it's like really long, really thick. Like there's like hundreds of thousands of words of that Bible. So essentially everything Christianity has to offer just comes from the Bible. So there's a lot of denominations in Christianity. There's hundreds, but ultimately every denomination agrees with basically what the Bible says, or like the Holy Trinity, like the fundamentals of the Bible. It's like Jesus is the Son of God, Jesus is God, just like all those fundamentals. And I guess what makes them different, that the denomination is different, is like the interpretations or the emphasis. So if I were to compare that to Buddhism kind of has like a karma thing, right? Like you mentioned, like, oh, if you do bad things, then bad things will happen to you. I guess the analog for Christianity is like sinning. Like if you're a sinner, you're not gonna, well, ultimately it's eternal. Like ultimately our lives right now are alive with flesh and like being alive. Like our lives right now is nothing compared to eternal life, or when we die we go to heaven. Like just that stretch of life compared to our flesh lives. So like if you're a sinner, you live like a sinner, you reject God, then you're gonna go to hell, because the Bible says you're either gonna go to heaven or hell. There's nowhere else, like after when you die, right? So yeah, the analog would be, don't sin. Like, there's bad karma, good karma. And then in Christianity, it's like, don't sin. If you do sin, confess, like tell God about it, ask for his forgiveness, and just try not to, we're not perfect, we're human. So as long as you follow Jesus, right? So it's like no lives matter except for Jesus, right? So if you follow Jesus, then that's the way to go, and you'll be saved, So I don't know too much about Buddhism. I do remember talking to, funny enough, another person that is from San Jose.
Oh.
Her name is Amber. Last year, I think, or it was either earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year, actually. So I actually talked to her, and she's also Buddhist, and she's like, "Oh, Buddhism is about being content with everything, being like chill with everything, in a sense." Or that's from what I remember what she told me. So
it's like not holding on to earthly things. It's being very like spiritual in a very non-materialistic way. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, Christianity kind of does that too, where you reject like what your human body craves, like sex and money. You don't want to get attached to that. You want to be attached to Jesus and God, and whatever he does in the Bible, you want to learn from what he says. The Bible was written by people anointed by the Holy Spirit that have the Holy Spirit in them, I guess. So like, quick little Christian lesson, like God is God, like God is like the Father of Jesus, and then Jesus is the human version of God. So Jesus was a real person. Jesus Christ was a real guy that was around like 2,000 years ago. And then God the Father, Jesus the Son, and then the Holy Spirit is kind of like the messenger guy, like the guy that's in all of us, or like in all the Christians. And he's kind of like the messenger, like it was like the middleman between us and like Jesus and God. So Jesus and God are up in heaven right now. Jesus is gonna come back. I have yet to read actually like the whole Bible. I feel like it's really hard to be Christian if you don't read the Bible. Yeah. Like I've realized that. I'm like, oh, I don't really know much about anything. And you go to sermons and like the pastors bring up like passages of the Bible, but like you got to read the whole thing yourself, and then multiple times, because it's such a long text and you're not going to remember most of it. So I just read, there's 66. So the Bible's technically a collection of books. So there's 66 of them, and I've only read one so far. I guess I've audiobook listened to like the first half technically, but then most of it, like 95% of it, I forgot, or I just zoned out. So I was like, okay, listening to it is not enough. If you listen to audiobooks, it's better than not reading the book at all. But I think I actually have to read it. And I read like the book of Acts. That was like the first ever book I actually read. And now I'm on 1st and 2nd Kings. But yeah, there's 66 books and there's a lot of content. But I guess that's a good thing, because again, I was kind of like in this place of like, what is my purpose? Where I was like, I had a lack of guidance. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. Like my parents can only help me so much, with their own advice. And I was like, but I need like more guidance on like things I like based on my context of my life. So that's why I just started going to church more. Like literally I was actually, like I mentioned, I grew up in a Christian household. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I went to church. Then after that, I didn't go to church until my 3rd year of college. So last year. So although I was like on and off, like I'd go to adult service with my family.
Did your family keep going when you stopped?
My dad mostly, my mom kinda. But my dad and my mom are pretty religious. They're like, so I thought they were really religious, and then ever since I started going to the Foursquare church, I learned, now I know what it's really like to be religious.
There's a new level of religious.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So now I see my parents. They're like, okay, they're like in the middle. They're like, so there's like, I'm like starting to get to that. Like I don't think I'm quite in the middle just yet. Like, because I have a lot to learn still. They know a lot more than I do, but yeah, I feel like they're kind of like in the middle. Like I have a roommate, my former roommate Oscar. Also, like I would say he's pretty religious too, or that's what I thought, until like I went to this Foursquare church, and I was like, okay, he's also kind of like in the middle, like of like religiousness, while the people at the Foursquare church are like all the way pretty close to the extreme. Not at the extreme, pretty close to it, because at the extreme is like super by the Bible. Like you're just there's actually a whole spectrum.
Like the people who live in like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
temple/church or whatever, they're just there volunteering every single day. You see them every single time.
Yeah, or just like more so like very conservative. So like
that sort of
no female pastors, or like because like this Foursquare church does allow female pastors, but
Like a very fundamentalist.
yeah. So yeah,
Interesting.
that's honestly it's changing my life, and I think for the better. I think this is definitely the Bible has a lot of good wisdom. I'd say it's teaching me to not like ultimately it's teaching me to be less of an asshole. So yeah, and I think I think one thing I know for sure about myself right now is I want to be a better person. So I'm just like every day iterating, trying to be better. It's a very slow process, but I just want to be the best version of myself at all times. So, and yeah, and I feel like reading the Bible is definitely, I can like, even after reading Book of Acts, like my first ever book of the Bible I read, Book of Acts, I'm already like taking away lessons from those stories. And then I read the first chapter of 1st, 2nd Kings this morning. And again, I'm taking away more just lessons. So there's like something, for example, like the 7 deadly sins. I came to a realization, sins are sins because they're destructive. So like one of the 7 deadly sins is like pride. And like basically you don't want to be an arrogant dude because you're gonna it's like not good. Like you're gonna stop caring about others and only care about yourself, and that's just not a good path to lead. Or like lust, like humans especially, I guess we're kind of like biologically programmed to like sex, but lust is a deadly sin, and you don't want to be sexually immoral because it can lead to for example STDs is like the biggest, like STDs if you're not STDs, unwanted pregnancies, but then that's kind of like the direct I guess things, but then there's also like cheating on someone, adultery is like a bad thing. So just like yeah, so that's why I'm a fan of Christianity right now. I grew to become a fan of Christianity because just the Bible is just dropping all kinds of wisdom on me, and I'm like, I didn't really have this wisdom until now, which I desperately need wisdom like this in my life. So that's I guess that's to answer your question. Like, yeah, I guess they're both popular religions. Like Buddhism's pretty popular. It's like, especially in Korea. Like I think there's like a good portion of Korea that's like Buddhist.
I was surprised about how Christian Korea is, honestly, because like it's the rest of Asia is still primarily Buddhist / like Shinto or something, but like China, Japan, Vietnam, Myanmar, all of it, like East Asia is pretty Buddhist, and then Korea is like, I feel I've met a lot more Korean Christians than I have Korean Buddhists, so it's actually pretty interesting about how like Christianity took off. I mean, like how it became so much more popular in Korea. I wonder why, actually.
I would say it's definitely America. It's because of America. When I went to Korea, I actually went to Korea in May this year, and when I went there, there was a lot of like English. Like there's more English than I expected. There's like some signs written in English, and also there's kind of like,
is it like a touristy church or is it like a plain old church that
I did go to church. I did go to my grandma's church, and I mean it was kind of just like a generic church. I'm not too sure what the denomination was, but in general the whole country has like a lot of American influence, and America's very Christian. So I would say, if anything, I would say America's influence on Korea, definitely some of that influenced the religion of Korea. And yeah, I guess there are a lot of Christian Koreans here in America, and my grandma's Christian. She lives in Korea, so yeah, it's like the #1 religion in the world too. It's like the most popular, and I guess like Jesus Christ was a real person, and then even for example Islam, even they agree that Jesus Christ was like a real dude. There's actually a lot of crossover with Islam and Christianity, so like they agree with the Virgin Mary, although they believe Muhammad is a prophet, but then they say Jesus is the second to last prophet, and I'm like, oh wow, like I found that out Wikipediaing Jesus Christ at some point, and yeah, I guess like the biblical times or that era was just kind of just a very spiritually like human, just like figured ourselves out spiritually at that time. So it's very interesting.
It's like they're offshoots of each other, right? It's like Judaism, Christianity came off that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like Judaism kept going straight, and then Christianity did its own thing, because Judaism is like really old Christianity, right? Something like that.
So yeah, something like that.
That's like they use like the Old Testament. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Or they have the Torah.
Yeah,
and that has the Old Testament in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I took a world religions class. I'm kind of forgetting a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
So, what was I gonna say?
Like Judaism.
Yeah, and then like Islam.
Yeah, it was also
kind of, it's like offshooting off. Like it's like in between the two or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So like all the names are the same. It's like Abraham's there, got Mary's there, Jesus is there. Yeah, so like it's like Arabified, but like but it's like they just have their own canon essentially, but it's like the same people shifted around differently. I always thought that was interesting too, honestly. But then they think that like, oh yeah, Muhammad is the messenger, not Jesus, but it's the same God, just said differently apparently, right?
Yeah, they believe like God is just God. There's no Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
I got that a lot from my friend Munir, who's Muslim, and I actually also saw like History of Christianity video, and like in the Middle East area, everyone was Christian, and then Islam took over, and then only like a few nations remained Christian, or like that's like the Crusades happened and stuff, and then only Spain turned Christian, but then all of the Middle East became predominantly or just dominantly Muslim. But yeah, there's a whole lot of history, and I still have a lot to learn in terms of that, because I remember my AP Euro class, like, oh yeah, I learned about the Crusades, and I learned about like the Middle Ages, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was because of Christianity.
It's actually interesting about how much like history religion has pushed, I guess, because I remember there was a argument somewhere of like, would we be better off if like the Dark Ages never happened or something, or if religion was there not to suppress science for about like 200 years or something like that. And I wonder, because like how for at the same time religion was suppressing a lot of that, but then religion was also a lot of the only ways you could become literate or anything like that, because like the monastery schools is like the only way you could get an education at that time. So I wonder, because like now compared to the impact of religion from like the 1100s, where the church literally is like the state essentially, and the church is like the most powerful entity in the world essentially, or in the country, versus now where it's more like it's a personalized, it's like a spiritual, it's obviously lost a lot of influence. And I just thought it was interesting to see like how, I wonder if the overall impact of religion is beneficial or negative, because I've seen a lot of comments on like TikTok and like other social medias of people just shitting on religion and everything. It's like, oh, the Dark Ages and all that yada yada yada, and all the religious wars, all that yada yada yada. So I was thinking about like like religion is, like you said, it's teaching a lot of socially beneficial, is preaching a lot of socially beneficial things, like just don't murder your neighbors and don't steal things, and that's necessary for a functional society, right? So it's, I wonder if the teachings, the beliefs that it preaches, and like its tangible, I wonder what like its tangible benefits overshadow some of its like lesser, some of the things that have, some of the not so great things that have been caused, not caused, but done in the name of religion. Religious wars, that yada, like the pros and cons of religion in general throughout history too, not even just today, comparing it today to back then.
Yeah. I guess Catholicism is like a branch of Christianity, and then, or like a denomination, and that actually puts more power to the church. I think the whole reason America started was because there's a lot of power in like England to the church, and then they were like, oh, this is not cool, and they freaking noped out of England and went to America and stuff. But yeah, like you mentioned, like people on TikTok, I think we're kind of like in a time where religion is now a choice. Like if you want to be religious, be religious. If you don't, live the secular life. There was like, there were secular time periods back then too. Like the Enlightenment was like a secular period, and they're like, oh, going hard on philosophy. Like some people live like stoicism. People, like go by stoicism and stuff. I would say they do a lot of meditation. I've noticed. A lot of secular people do a lot of meditating, and the analog to that in Christianity is prayer. And prayer is essentially just meditating, except you believe that there's somebody listening, and somebody, the Almighty God, listening to you and then answering them too, causing things to happen. Well, meditation is just more like mindfulness and like separating what your flesh wants from, being aware of like what your flesh wants and what you want. So yeah, it's just, I guess they're all just ways of living, just like secularism, Buddhism, Christianity, and they all have like analogs, similar analogs, but there is like a whole spiritual realm. Like there's ghost hunting. There's like people that have real occupations of ghost stuff, and there's like haunted. Like you ever see those videos of like haunted houses and they have those like equipment and then like the equipment goes off randomly. So apparently there's just like a spiritual realm, and we inherently as humans have this like spiritual desire. Like Native Americans have their like they believe in their gods, and there's like there's like the Greek gods and stuff, and there's a whole like astrology stuff, and so
it's like a desire to explain the unknown. I feel like
exactly.
Yeah, it's like trying to justify something in a higher power than something that we could form around. I guess something like a belief that we can. It's a lot easier to like I think it's a lot easier to like do something when you think you're being told to, essentially, or you're doing it for something else. It's like a greater purpose, like you said.
Exactly. So it's like we're kind of here, although there were aliens that we apparently were found in Mexico, but we're kind of like the only people here, and then we don't know why we're here, and there's not really a way to prove that we're here. So like religion, the Christian explanation is, oh, God brought us here, God created the world, God did this, God did that, and secular people could argue like, who created God? Well, Christianity is like, oh, well, God doesn't have to create himself, he was always here. So like under the the whole Christian ideology, it's like, oh, because God. Secularism is more like the Big Bang, but then you can't really explain the Big Bang because what caused the Big Bang. And then apparently like Big Bang theory is like we started from one point and then we exploded, and then like, and I think I've delved a little deeper at some point, and I was like, oh, before that like quantum physics existed, like the quantum world always existed or something like that, and there was like energy fluctuations, and eventually just the Big Bang happened. But apparently
those are all theories, right? Like we can't prove any of that.
Apparently like the probability of us being here is like super like extremely infinitesimally small. So I actually have seen like a sermon on that before, like a long time ago, and it was one of those times where I was like on and off church, like in that time, that whole decade of me not going to church like consistently. And there's like this like super smart like white guy who like, oh, the probability of this happening, and it's like 10 to the negative like 400 or something like. And then like after the service we were like, dude, that was like a physics lecture, but yeah, he was like, oh, the probability of all this happening. And I don't know how good his calculations were, but I think the principle of that is true. Like the probability of everything just happening by chance is like extremely low, because like I also realized everything just works. So like one way scientists find life outside of like Earth would be, okay, we need to find water. And like water is like the universal solvent. You learn chemistry, like it's a universal solvent. And there are times I'm just like, man, I'm like cleaning something, I'm like, dude, this thing dissolves everything. Like if it didn't dissolve everything, then how would we even be here? But so it's just like, and then just the human body and like animals, and just like there's like all these like digestive systems, and everything just works physically. Everything just like physically works. So that's why I'm kind of like a fan of Christianity, because Christianity poses that, oh, God created this. He's like this really infinitely smart guy, and he just caused all these things to happen. So yeah.
One thing I've always wondered is like, what's Christian food? Are there any Christian foods?
Oh, Christian
that
food.
Like, because like when I think of the temple, I'm thinking of like vegan food, of course, and it's like China, Japan, like all the Buddhist countries. Korea definitely does too. Like they have a developed Buddhist cuisine. So I was wondering, like, does Christianity have that sort of thing too, where like, I guess it's just it just gets ingrained into your culture. It's not specifically, right? Because like the other Western countries like Germany or like France, I feel like the Christian food is kind of just baked into your culture. Like the Mexican, not Mexican, but like Latin Three Kings bread.
Oh,
where like they
tres leches.
No, it's not. Tres leches is a cake. That's a little different. The thing. This is a Christian thing for sure. It's like the Three Kings that like went to Jesus. They brought the gifts or something like that. Oh, they saw Jesus get born or something like that.
Oh, I haven't read that part yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I learned this in Spanish class. Mm-hmm. So it's like they have a tradition where it's like they break a loaf of bread and there's like three kings and they'll literally like three like plastic figurines. They'll put it into the bread. And then whoever like cuts out the piece has to like make it for the next
Oh, that's like a Spanish like tradition thing.
I think it's a Christian thing because it's three kings and it's part of like the Jesus birth canon. Yeah, I was just wondering like, because like Vietnamese Buddhist food is really good. Vegetarian food is pretty good, and I was wondering if like the foods that Christianity affects. But I think it just changes into your cuisine overall.
Yeah, there's not really Christian food, but I guess there's food mentioned in the Bible, and it's just like bread, fish. Technically, lamb. I guess lamb is like Christian food technically, but that's more like just the meat they had like back in the day. So there's not really Christian food. Like if you were to go to a church, there's not like this is like the Christian cookies. Like no, it's just like pizza or something, or just like it's just food. Like I don't think there's anything. Like the one thing the Bible does say is you can eat anything. Like for example, like Islam, like you can't eat pork. Same with Judaism, I think you can't eat pork again. But in the Bible, it straight up just says like, oh, you can eat anything. Like anything's, any meat. Like pork is fine. Like who cares?
There's what's it, Lent, right? Or is that only specific Christian denominations?
That's Catholicism.
That's Catholicism.
Catholicism,
yeah. Oh, they do like the ash thing and.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And you give up something.
Yeah, okay. That's so like meat is what most people mostly do, or something like that, right?
Yeah, like my roommate Oscar, he's Catholic, and he gave up like video games. I think. Well, we don't have exactly Lent, but we do have like a time where we do. We do like a 40-day fast. Not necessarily like on Ash Wednesday or like according to Ash Wednesday, but like Jesus at some point had like a 40-day fast. He just like didn't eat for 40 days. So we kind of like practice that too, where you give up something for 40 days. So we do fast in general in Christianity, but like, Lent is more Catholicism.
I see. Okay. I did not know that. Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So actually one of my friends, his name is Ray in the Rock. Or the Foursquare Church, he said, it doesn't really matter the denomination you're in. What matters is your relationship with God, your relationship with Jesus. So like your prayer life, your Bible life. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Although there's like hundreds of denominations, like that doesn't matter. And also from the History of Christianity video, there was like a time, apparently sometime in history, people try to rewrite Christianity. That's where like Mormonism came from, and was it Jehovah's Witness came from, and they have their own books, and apparently that's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, apparently it's wrong. And essentially, I guess I was like, oh, I guess those are like spin-off religions, but then they're not really Christianity actually. So, but yeah.
I mean, it's like I don't know. I wonder like how much recognition does a cult need to become? Because like a cult is just any religion that's just not off on the main path, right? That's legal. That's a technical definition. So I wonder, just like, I'm sure the Catholic Church when when like the what was it? When the Pilgrims came over, they probably thought like the Presbyterian Protestants. They probably thought the Protestants were like a cult, and then probably vice versa.
That's true.
So I wonder like how I wonder how long it'll take for them to become official. I don't know. I'm sure it just depends.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, the denominations they have their like differences. Like there's like the Baptist denomination, and they don't believe in infant baptism. They only believe in baptism when you're like an adult. But then like Presbyterianism, my Presbyterian church, they baptize infants. I'm not sure about the Foursquare church. I actually haven't asked, but yeah, there are like differences, more like different interpretations of the Bible. But they do all agree on the same thing. And yeah, at the end of the day, what matters is, are you praying? Are you not sinning as much as you can? Or are you, taking up your decisions to God? So yeah, that's Christianity. It's the whole, like, I didn't even anticipate it to be like this whole like in-depth, just how in-depth it is. Like I knew there was a Bible, like I knew, God, and I barely knew the Holy Trinity as well. Like I had an idea of it, but yeah, I just didn't know like all this stuff about it, So
it's good to see you've found something you can really resonate with.
For sure.
Yeah, I kind of hungry actually.
Oh really?
We had sushi last night for one of our friends' birthdays, and
Did you not have breakfast?
No, I have not. But I've been like thinking of just other things I want to eat before I leave in Irvine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And now I think about it, I'm like, is there even anything I want to eat that's not in Irvine that I can't get in San Jose?
That's a good question.
It's like, what does Socalian specialize in this area?
Maybe Mexican food, but
like in Buena Park, what kind of food's good in Buena Park?
Mexican food.
Okay.
I mean, the name is in the name Buena Park. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
We're closer to Mexico, so maybe the food's a little better here than San Jose. I don't know. I guess San Jose
has a pretty big Mexican population.
Yeah, it's also like a Spanish
like it's
name
city. Yeah, it's like a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Viet people.
Mm-hmm.
So those two foods are really good, but that's also kind of like here, like you would go to Westminster or something or Garden Grove.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So
I guess you're in California, so even if it's north and south, yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized coming here. Nothing really changed when I came here from San Jose.
Except for the weather, maybe?
Not even.
The
weather is like slightly more temperate. That's about it. It's really nice. How do you compare to like Buena Park right now?
Just Buena Park's a little warmer, I guess. That's Irvine. Like I've noticed when I lived in Irvine, it wouldn't get any hotter than. I don't remember it being over 100 here.
No.
But in Buena Park, it can get over 100 a few times out of the year. So, yeah. And then it's also kind of windier here in Irvine because we are close to the coast. But then Buena Park, there's less wind. But
is it as suburban-y as
Yeah, suburban. Buena Park's very suburban. I guess there's like the downtown side where there's like knots and stuff, but yeah, it's ultimately suburban.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because I don't know.
San Jose is more
I wouldn't want to go to downtown San Jose.
Yeah,
downtown San Jose is not so good.
Yeah, San Jose is a pretty big city.
True. Yeah, it's very oddly. It's like LA. It's got that real big divide. You go to West San Jose, it's really nice. It's where all the tech companies are. You go to East San Jose, it's not so good.
Yeah,
it's not so good anymore.
Mm-hmm. You grew up in San Jose?
No, I grew up in like the nicer. I grew up in like the tech company side. So
the Silicon Valley.
The Silicon Valley side. So yeah, I did not grow up in the. I mean, I was born in like the Milpitas side. I don't. Okay, you're not gonna know these cities. I grew up on like the north side.
I've been to Milpitas before.
Oh, okay, then okay. Yeah. I grew up in there, and then I moved down for middle school. Actually, like the West San Jose is like famous for having all the really really try hard Asian kids for the try hard Asian schools. With everyone trying to go to get the 1800 on their SATs and everything, even though that doesn't matter anymore. So I wonder. Was your school like that?
My high school, yeah. Everyone. It was very.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder now how that works now that everyone's kind of
no more SAT.
Like like the UCs don't care as much anymore. I'm sure the privates and other like Common App people still care, but
I think now it's just grades, man. Now it's just like grades and extracurriculars and
Oh no.
yeah.
Oh no. These are all like half of the Asian kids can't compare anymore because they don't have anything interesting.
Yeah. And what is that one called? Affirmative action. I think that matters
that
too.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't want to be white anymore, or you don't want to
be Asian.
Yeah.
You're part of white.
You want to be like
interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did you write on your college essays? What did you like? What was your thing?
I think I just talked about my grades, to be honest.
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, I got a B one time, and like because of this, I learned this about myself, and I mean, I had my sister help me a little bit, and you know, I think it got me enough to get into UCI. So I was like, all right, that's good.
Nice. And I my experiences were stretched a little bit.
Oh, I mean, you gotta do that.
Some things may not have been mine. Some experiences might have been my cousin's. Mm-hmm. It was like I was talking about the time I worked at a machine shop. The machine shop I actually working at now, but then I didn't work there at that point. And later, my cousin was telling me, like, because I was telling them about how like the lathes would be grinding sparks everywhere, and he was telling me, but like, yeah, you're really really lucky that the reader had no idea about machining, because that's totally wrong. And he was just telling you about like every single thing about in my essay that it was just wrong. And I was like, that's a good point. Good thing he didn't know anything about machinery. That's kind of funny. I am happy that I was able to stretch everything out like that. UCI was pretty nice.
Right. Did you only apply to? I only applied to UCs. So did you only apply to UCs? And
I applied. The only out of state I think I applied to was the UIs in Chicago, Urbana-Champaign, Illinois. I got it in, but I didn't really want to go to Chicago or Illinois, because that's really far and cold, and I didn't really want to be that far from home. Like, was that the same reason why you went to Irvine? It was like far, but not too far.
I only applied to UCs because honestly, the thing that kept me from doing Common App or like Ivy Leagues was like I didn't want to get teacher recs, because I didn't know any of the teachers, dude. I was like quiet. I was kind of like a quiet kid. I didn't really talk to teachers. Yeah. So I was like, man, I don't want to. I think you need like 2 or 3 teacher recs or something. I was like, man, I don't want. Nobody got time for that. So I only did the UCs, and then since I applied to 7 out of the 9 UCs, I was like, I don't need to apply to CSUs because I'll just go to UC, because I guess UCs are better than CSUs. That's what I thought back then, and I think right now, like hearing my friends' experiences in CSUs, I think UCs are kind of, I guess you kind of on average have a better experience, whether it's academic or especially social. Like definitely social.
Really? What's the difference? I don't really have that many friends in CSUs actually, so I don't actually know. Most of my friends went to UCs. They're actually smarter than me, so they went to better UCs than me. Right.
So like the I guess the bottom would be like community college. People went to community college, and that's like the most socially dead college to go to. And then next up would be like CSUs, and then again still it's more so like not as many people live, I would say, on like CSU camp. At least my friends, like they didn't really live there. They just commuted.
Which ones do your friend go
Cal
to?
State Fullerton.
Fullerton, okay.
And Poly Pomona.
Pomona, okay, I see. Yeah.
So they would mostly commute, and then, but then, me out of my close friends, I was the only person that went to UC, and I went to UC and I lived there, and I met so many people, and just so many like social experiences, and like learning how our age group, just like people our age are. So just like I guess in my daily just conversations, I can talk about experiences like, oh yeah, one time this happened, one time that happened, this person did this. But yeah, so I forgot what I was talking about. The UC, UCs. Yeah.
Social differences.
Yeah. They're more expensive than CSUs. And then I don't think I've had any people in privates, but I can only imagine how privates are like, but yeah, I don't have that many friends. I don't have any close friends in privates. Well, actually, I have one who went to Chapman, but
I have one who went to Dartmouth, and he kind of, like, our friends have a Discord call and everything, and the UC people are like, we're playing games all the time and everything. The Dartmouth dude, I don't know where he's gone. He comes back once every like 2-3 months. He says hi, and we're like, oh my god, he's back, and then he'll be gone again. We haven't seen him since I think second year or something. Yeah, I don't know. The privates, I guess they just they change you.
So yeah, I think some of the back when I went to college service, I guess I go to young adult service now because I'm graduated from college, but I think a few people did go to like the Ivy League schools, but then they'd be gone most of the time because Ivy League schools are out of the state. So yeah, I don't really know that many people that went to like those kinds of schools, except for like NYU maybe. But that's like I only know one guy that went there, or I guess a bunch of people from my high school went there, but I only know like one guy. But yeah,
which one of those places you would want to go to? Like,
if I had
not
to,
as much. Like, yeah, if you could apply again.
Oh, if I had to,
would you want, like, if you didn't have to worry about money, would you want to go?
No, I probably wouldn't want to, because I'd want to stay like locally even, or like in California even. Yeah. But I actually applied to UC Merced and I got in. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks for the free shirt. So it was more like a safety school, but in reality you only need one safety school. I got into like Irvine, San Diego, Merced, and then off the wait list of Santa Cruz.
Ooh.
So yeah, the other three rejected. So it was like Berkeley, LA, and Santa Barbara rejected me. But like, I guess Santa Cruz was kind of a second safety school. Actually, some people from my high school went there, but I didn't really need to apply to Santa Cruz because I don't know. And I guess Merced, again, also that's kind of weird too. It's all the way across it's all up north, and it's like a new UC, and there's not that many students that went there. I didn't apply to Riverside or Davis for some reason, but Riverside is kind of like a guarantee that you're gonna get in. Like very rarely do I don't think I've ever heard anyone get rejected from Riverside, and most people from my high school went to Riverside.
You see rejects as described by my brother who went to UCR.
Yeah, so if anything, I probably didn't need the Merced and UC, was it Santa Cruz?
Oh, yeah.
I probably could have just done either one of them or just Riverside but I got into, so I had to choose between San Diego and Irvine, and I was actually about to go to San Diego because my sister went there, and then I was like, man, let me try Irvine. Like I asked a friend to take me around Irvine. Like he's a year older than me. And then I was like, oh, wow, this school is amazing. And also I was like, maybe I shouldn't follow my sister's footsteps and try something new. And also Irvine's like really like close. It's only like a 35-minute drive away from here. So from my place. So although I still lived there and didn't commute, but yeah, and I chose Irvine. And now we're here.
Yeah, I think it was a good
filming
choice.
This podcast.
For real. I wouldn't have met you if you went to Santa Cruz. Damn.
Exactly. I would have met a lot of people. I would not have met a lot of people. I would have had a completely different experience.
I wonder.
Yeah.
What could have been?
Like imagine, like I can only imagine what would happen if I went to Merced, like all the way up north, and like apparently there's mostly Latino people there, and yeah, a small student body, and it's a new UC, and yeah,
it'll be a lot of firsts for there, but I don't know if you want to do that, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And then apparently they didn't have a pure math major; they only had applied math. So I would have been like an applied math major, which actually probably, well, I guess I graduated. I guess I was a data science concentration, but I feel like that it was kind of a joke. But yeah, I would have been applied math, which is, I'm not sure how their program is up there in Merced, but the data science concentration UCI was kind of literally only like 3 classes data science related. 12 units of, and then the rest is just more math classes. So it was kind of a joke, and even there were 3 electives technically, but you could have just taken 3 more math classes. I took 3 stats classes, but yeah, I didn't learn anything. I learned like 1% of data science, or I learned like 1% of like what data science majors would learn. You know, you may as well just have been a data science major. So now I don't really care about data science anymore. And that also industry wants you to be a master as well, like a master's degree.
Oh.
So that's more like a master's degree thing too. So
is that something you're interested in?
No,
not anytime soon, or never?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I didn't really want to do a master's, which is like a very, very important thing for a math major. Mm-hmm. Especially if you want to use your math degree, you would most of the time you would just do grad school. And that's like, because I did realize as a math major that, this is kind of just preparing you for grad school math. Because grad school math is like the fundamentals of grad school math, where you really learn, you more hone in on like specific things. But yeah, but I wasn't really interested. I realized like I do like math, or I do understand math, like naturally. Just I don't know why I'm just built like that, but I don't think I find fulfillment in it, or like I'm not really interested. I'm not that interested, because I knew some people like in high school who would take like AMC, AME exams, where it's like the super competitive math, where it's like competition.
Oh.
It's like like you know how like comp sci has like competitive coding. It's like there's competitive
like math Olympiad.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Insane mode. Okay.
And I back then I didn't really care. So I feel like if I was more those kind of people, then it would make more sense for me to be a math major. But I kind of just like picked a major out of a hat, like an educated guess. I was like, oh, I guess I'm good at math, so I kind of just picked it. I threw a dartboard on a bunch of random. So I didn't really put much thought into like the major, honestly, as much as I should have. But I'm here now, and I'm more interested in like business, and I guess business field like appreciate math majors. They're like, oh yeah, if you're a math major, you're good enough. Like, funny enough, I guess I'm a kind of similar to like your industry in a way. Like I'm also interested in like the business field. So if anything, our career paths are gonna be like completely or very similar.
No, definitely. We're like the opposite directions of the same job. Like you're like with your math, it's actually you're probably really like you could look at the reports a lot easier than I could. But that because I'm the one who would just make the report by filling everything in Excel, and I have to depend on Excel on everything.
I disagree, or I don't think so. I think because like college math is more theoretical? Abstract, theoretical, abstract. Okay. And like you take away there's no computation. Like you take away the numbers and you start throwing symbols and definitions and theorems, and you're just talking why math, or like, how math, rather than like, oh, compute this. What is 1 + 1? What is, because business is more. Yeah, I use the heck out of Excel, and that's just. I mean, Excel is just Excel. If you know how to use it, then you can just use Excel to do all the math for you. Mm. So
yeah, I was gonna say that. Now I think about it, like no, I don't do any math. I just use software to like do all the math for me, to tell me when I need to do anything, if I need to like buy more stock or something. So yeah, now I think about it, like having to read like maybe if you were good at SQL or something, maybe you could make a new database or something. But
that's true.
Nah, that's too much work for me. I'm good enough.
Leave that to the CS majors.
Yeah.
Or the data science majors.
Actually, now I think about it, it's kind of funny how like I have a friend who's also who was I think in pure math, and he's like tried to speed run the entire math course. Like he could have graduated undergrad in 2 years essentially, and then so he started taking all the grad courses.
Oh.
And he was not having a fun time. He was not having it. It was he also complained that it was extremely theoretical. And it was like not really what he wanted to do. It didn't really have many. He didn't find any ways to apply it into anything. So he was kind of he burnt out. He burnt out really fast. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. So
yeah, math people we just find the math and we don't care about applying it. That's what the engineers are for. The engineers they find it. They go, oh, we can use that for this, but we just figure it out. We're like, oh, this mathematical thing is this, and that's what research is. We just find more math things. So like there's like there's graph theory where you like connect lines together, and you're like, oh, the Rubik's cube is like a lot of what's called group theory has to do with Rubik's cubes, and I was like, oh, like, but like I didn't really care because I guess you're a math major. But then the engineers are like, oh, we can take the math and use it for this. But the math majors are like, we found more math. You can use it if you want. So yeah, and then sometimes like I find myself in like social situations where I like, oh, what's tax? Or like, hey, can like we're splitting the bill, and I'm like, oh, everybody owes this, and they're like, you're the math major, and I'm like, dude, anybody out of high school could have done what I did, because I know in reality like college math is just nothing to do with computation. Okay, not nothing, but like very very little computation, or more so like computation is assumed, like everybody knows you can do it. While you're focusing on like, okay, why does this math happen?
Interesting. Yeah. I I was never good at math. I never understood. I could never handle the numbers. I never understood the steps. I would always try to figure out how, like, the step of order of things, but then it would never work when you change something else. I wonder, like, how the difference in, like, how people think and how it changes the subjects we like. Because I know some people in this house are, like, super like you. They're, like, very math oriented, really good at math, not so good at English, and vice versa. Interesting. Because I was never good at math. I was always better at English. SATs, good at English, good at reading, not so good at math.
Really? And for me, the SAT, I perfect score on the math, and then I got like a 680 on the English, so I got 1480.
Interesting.
So.
I did ACT, but like it was the same thing.
ACT.
My math and reading and writing was perfect, and then my math and science, not so good.
Oh, I did try a mock ACT, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna take the SAT, because I think the ACT was much more fast paced, or you had less time.
ACT was faster paced.
Yeah, so I was like,
easy but fast. You had to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Or I mean that's more of like how fast can you do it? Yeah, I guess, but now it's like no longer a thing now. It's like,
yeah, the new kids will never have to be grinding those practice tests over and over and over again. I did so many of those when I was practicing, like 20, 30 of them. And I would consistently get not so great. So good thing I got a little better when I did.
Right. I mean, so you're like a business major. I guess education or academically, like how was being a business major? I guess
it was not. I mean, it taught. I would really say that the biggest skill that I learned was really like a soft skill, was just working with teams. Honestly, that's about it.
Like Microsoft Teams or like teams in general?
Actual teams, like like working leadership in teams and that sort of thing. Because it was kind of hard. It's not a lot of things that you can actively apply. Honestly, it's kind of very, very situational. Like me knowing the type of corporations that exist does not really help me in any way. And like the most technical classes I did were like using Python to make graphs, using SQL to make a database, using SQL to make data structures, that sort of thing, which was beneficial, but it was never like taught. It was always like a very basic level. That's what it was. It's a really basic level, and I never really I was never able to practice it more than that, because it's a business major. First of all, they don't expect you to code. They don't really expect you to know SQL that much. So I would say the education of a business major was not that much, really. There's a reason why everyone kind of goes on the business majors for having the easiest classes. I think it's pretty true, honestly.
I mean, I've seen like CEOs or even Mr. Beast, like he taught at Harvard one time. Like I've seen like successful business owners teach at like Ivy League schools on like business classes. So I guess education there might be better, but it's almost ironic too, or it is ironic too, because a lot of CEOs or just like successful people like are college dropouts. Like Mr. Beast is a college dropout, and then he taught a lesson in Harvard, which is funny. And then
I feel like a lot of those people though are dropping out because they have something, like the trifecta of like, what was it, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, who's the other one?
Bill Gates.
Is it Bill Gates?
I don't know.
Did he also drop out? I don't remember. But like you know what I'm talking about. The people like the big people who dropped out, like they always dropped out because they were pursuing something. Yeah, that's pretty risky though. Honestly, would you even try to do that? Like,
of course.
Would you? Or let's say you had maybe like, I don't know, like 3,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. 3, 4, 5,000.
That's a good question.
Like, would you drop out for that?
That's a good question.
Or maybe not even YouTube. Like, what else could be like?
Oh yeah,
if
like
you had
YouTube.
a company, like YouTube, or let's say you had a fledgling startup.
Ooh, I mean, that's a good question.
A really big risk. I'm honestly like, I props to them for dropping everything, but damn, that's a really big risk. I guess you could come back.
I think if that happened, if I was like at my like mental knowledge now, I would. But then back then, I didn't really know much, so I probably would have been too scared to drop out, even if I did have. But that's a good question. If I have 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, I don't know.
How many subscribers would you need to drop out?
If I was at a milli, like, yeah, man, why am I going to college? Or if I was at 10 milli, yeah, why am I going to college?
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure, man, because I mean, honestly, I didn't really take YouTube that seriously. It was more like a hobby thing, and it was more like once every few months kind of thing. And I did very basic editing, and it was enough to like get me by. But now, or like this summer, I had this whole like phase of just like being an artist and like being content creating, and now I realized, oh wow, I'm really bad, or like I'm not good at, I guess, trying to get people to watch my stuff rather than just doing it for fun. So there's a lot of crossover between film editing and YouTube video editing. So you kind of have to like manipulate a lot of people's emotions. Like it's ultimately just emotion manipulation. Like my most recent video that got 10,000, my most recent short that got 10,000 views. I bet you, well, okay, one thing for sure, the average view duration was like 80%. So people watched like 80%. It was only like a 33-second video though, but that's still pretty good.
That's
80%.
pretty long, yeah.
So, and I know the reason why was because I held off on telling. So the video was about me selling books I found at a library on Amazon, and I held off telling how much I made until the end. And even at the end, I still had like 5 seconds where I talk about, oh, it cost this much, and then at the last 5 seconds, I say, which is the hourly rate of like $10 an hour. But then I noticed on the graph, like on the retention graph or the average view duration graph, it kind of drops off after I reveal how much money I made. Like 10% of people click off. So, but yeah, that's like one thing that I was like, oh, okay, definitely. Because before I would just drop the freaking how much I made like pretty early. But this time I held it. I was like, oh, I could, but no, I'm not going to tell you until the very end. You got to watch the whole thing. I didn't say that, but like, I held off. And I use like music to build up too. And music is sound design in general is it's like half of editing, half of making content, making any video. If you ever watch a video, just listen to like the music changes to like a Mr. Beast video, listen to the music changes, listen to how many sound effects there are. If you look at editing timelines, it's like freaking huge, but because of like, there's so many sound effects, it's like kind of ridiculous. But people like sound effects unknowingly because it's like satisfying, like the dopamine, whatever.
It's very like feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know, like
suspense.
The podcast, like every single time you have something that pops up,
yeah.
like it always like it makes me look because like I'm like, oh, what just popped up? Because the first time I thought it was a messenger. I thought it was you calling me on Messenger.
Yeah,
and I was like, huh? Oh, he's popping something up.
Yeah,
and it's really like it takes your attention 100%.
It's like subtle, but well, I mean, yeah, it's like subtle in a way.
It piques your interest. Like it tells you something's going on.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
And that's kind of like that's like basic sound design. There's like, there's a lot of the sound effects that happen are edited in. So actually, I did that with my most recent short too, because there's like, let's say there's someone hammering like a thing. Most of the time, like 99% of the time in the video, it's like they edit in hammer sound effects. They don't actually just use the freaking mic, or even like the mic recording the actually hitting a hammer. So
like a better sound quality, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then people wouldn't notice. People wouldn't notice like, hey, that's edited in. Nobody would know. They would assume like, oh, that's the hammer making that noise. But no, in reality, it's just stock hammer sounds.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, like just watch any movie any just video. Like, there's a whole lot of editing. There's a whole lot of things behind editing, and it's ultimately just emotion manipulation. You're getting control of people's emotions. You want people to evoke emotion and be like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Or like you want to clickbait. Clickbait happens because it evokes emotion. Like you make people mad. The title's like, why you are fat or something, and then they're like, what? And it makes them mad and they click or something. So like, for example, it's all just emotional manipulation. Yeah.
Anything for that click.
Exactly.
That's what it is. Anything for that click.
Anything for the click, and then for watching it too.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
The clickbait title, the random faces on the thumbnail. Yeah. Typical
exactly.
YouTube things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you have any other hobbies that or you mostly just YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube, and like I exercise too. I've been doing like a program by there's like this guy called the Knees Over Toes guy, and he's more athletic strengthening training rather than like what Quinn just went to the gym. He's probably doing like deadlifts, squats, bicep curls. Are you? If I were to bet, but this Knees Over Toes guy, he's like, oh no, train your shin muscles, train your calves, train your hip flexors, train things for athleticism that people in the gym mostly don't train. They just train for looks, like they train their aesthetic muscles rather than their functional muscles. So yeah, I've been doing that program. I'm actually almost done. I have like 4 more weeks out of a whole 36 weeks, but also making a YouTube series on that too. But yeah, just exercising, and then also kind of looking into like being an entrepreneur too. So at least recently I've been like looking into Amazon FBA and like how do I make a product and see if I can make money off that product. It's actually very similar to YouTube. Like YouTube, you make up a video idea and it has to be a good video idea, and then you have to execute it. Same thing with Amazon FBA. You have to find a product that a lot of people want to buy, that doesn't really exist, or that like doesn't have much competition, or you can improve. So it's very similar. Like a lot of I heard this one bit of advice from this guy named Alex Ramosi, who's like an entrepreneur. Every single business, like no matter what it is, if you do it long enough, it's all the same. Where it's like, you ultimately, I guess, try to get as many people's attention. You leverage. Like
it runs the same. The priorities are the same. That's what I mean. What do you mean?
Yeah, it all pretty much is the same. Where like the fundamental boils down to the fundamentals.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So like any business, whether you're selling a product, whether you're consulting, whether you're just anything that relates to selling something. So yeah,
that makes sense. The fundamentals don't change depending on your business. Yeah, because I've been like as part of the excuse me, like the engineering, since the fact that like a lot of what I do is in machining and everything, I've been looking into like improvised firearms, because my dad works in a machine shop. I'm like, theoretically we could make everything to make a firearm here. And I've been like reading up on like a lot of like the history of firearms, the technicalities, how they're made, that sort of thing. The technical specifications on a lot of engineering is a lot more complicated than I ever thought it would be. I will say that. I don't know if you saw that when you were buying products. Like what kind of products were you buying, or like what kind of data for products were you making in your job?
Oh, my job?
Yeah.
It was a tech company. It was a wholesale tech company.
Oh, okay. So were they selling like a service sort of thing?
Not a service, like tech products. So just like name anything, like this laptop or these mics.
It's like a computer store, but like
wholesale.
store.
Yeah, wholesale.
Like,
anything from literally, we sold breast pumps at some point. Just anything that uses electricity.
Oh, interesting.
Well, not anything that uses electricity, but anything that has electronics in it.
Oh, interesting.
So this mic, that iPhone, that this laptop, just, and then wholesale. So we'll buy it in bulk, we'll sell it for more, or we'll sell it at retail price.
Okay.
Yeah, just
I don't know. That's what I've been mostly reading up on. Like, I think the interest came from my dad, like the history of firearms. I feel like a lot of people who are into firearms are like the more into like the actual shooting, the actual action of shooting of it. Like, have you seen like John Wick?
Yeah. And
have you seen him like train? His training footages, like his IRL training footages, where he's like in the range.
Oh, I think I have seen.
Like he does like the CQB stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, that stuff seems kind of interesting. I don't know if you've heard of like the competition shooting, where it's like a practical one. It's like a obstacle course shooting essentially. That's something I've been thinking about looking into, but then guns are expensive.
Have you ever shot guns?
Oh yeah, of course. My family has a couple, and we just go to the range and we just plink at like cans and stuff, and yeah, that's about it. So really, I'm more interested in like the historical firearms. I when I'm in the future, like when I have more money, I think collecting antiques would be really cool. I think I feel like everyone kind of collects something, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what should I collect. I think antique firearms will be a good one. Like, imagine owning a musket. I think that'd be really cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I do want to try shooting a musket. So in reenactments, I've also been watching a lot of those. I don't know, they look kind of dumb, but they also look really interesting. I don't know if you've seen one of those in action, like a Civil War reenactment or like a World War II reenactment. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean,
I do something with my money.
I've shot guns twice, or like in 2 occasions actually. Very recently actually.
Oh really?
Like last month. Or one time a couple weeks ago, and then last month. And I went with my church friends actually, my Presbyterian church or Korean church friends. And we shot pistols, shot Glocks and was it 1911?
1911, yeah.
Yeah, and they were strong. We shot a shotgun one time, and I was like, wow, that's
got a bit of a punch.
Yep. Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, these guns, we literally designed these to kill each other. So yeah, and I'm like, okay, it exactly. Seems like it's getting the job done.
That's why there's a lot of rules. You follow the rules 100%. It's that's something that I guess if you do grow up like around with firearms, that's something that ought to be taught. That needs to be. I think that needs to be taught in like that needs to be like drilled into every single person that will ever touch a firearm.
Yeah.
You never point it at someone you don't want to hurt. You figure off the trigger until you're ready. Be wary of what's beyond what you're shooting. Those sort of basic rules that everyone knows. I think. I feel like a lot of people just don't follow. I think a lot of the problems that we have today is like people. It's definitely like the wrong. There's so many different arguments like pro and con. Like you can honestly argue a very fair argument for both sides because like. On one hand, it's like banning them. Yeah, it would be true because, like, I think of a lot of the major mass shootings, I think they are bought legally. I think they're taken from other people. I know some of the more unfortunate ones, they were taken from other people. But then on the other hand, it's like, how do you feel about that? Like, would you make a 98% and a 95% case where, like, you're going for the 95% case where it's, like, illegal use? Like, it doesn't matter if you banned it because, like, they got it legally regardless? Versus, like, the 5 to 10% case where it's, like, bought legally and then it's used legally. Because, like, I think America is a very, very unique case in that guns are not a luxury, they are a right here. So that really affects a lot of things because like we have a lot of guns in our system and I actually don't know, like I don't think a total ban will ever work. We have too many in our system. I don't think that could ever work. But I don't think total legalization it's not working already, so I don't really know. Do you think you have any
like gun control?
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, actually, I read a book. So I read a book called Columbine, and then there's a sequel called Parkland, and those are 2 high schools where shootings happened. Columbine was all about the shooters and how they caused the shooting, and I learned actually one of the shooters was actually Christian. It's actually kind of scary. He was like Christian. He's very he believed in God, and they had their journals, the 2 shooters' journals, and he'd talk about God all the time. Yeah, but and then the sequel Parkland is a complete different spin. It's more like, okay,
I don't remember which one was Parkland.
Parkland was in 2018. Parkland is in Florida.
Is it the nightclub?
No, it's high
Orlando.
School. High school, yeah, Orlando.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, Parkland.
Yeah.
Is right. Okay.
And then Columbine was in 1999.
Yeah, that is quite.
So Parkland was like the sequel. I guess the author or we as a society realized, okay, we should not glorify the shooters. That's like one reason why these shootings are happening, because we kind of glorify them. Mm-hmm. So the Parkland novel did not name drop the school shooter.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So did not name drop the school shooter, did not talk about how the school shooter did it, and like very barely talked about like the actual shooting. It was all about the political activism that happened afterwards by the students of the survivors of Parkland who advocated for stricter gun control laws. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think they said they didn't want to completely delegalize guns, but then they're like, okay, I don't know, I forgot most of the book, but yeah, just more stricter gun laws.
Yeah.
And yeah, honestly, I'm for it because yeah, obviously our laws right now are not working. Maybe if it's stricter gun laws, more so, it's also more so it's a social affair, because you know you gotta be really jacked up in the head to want to shoot up anyone that's just innocent. So yeah, but then if I were to, honestly, especially after shooting real guns, I would wish that guns didn't exist at all, but at the same time, human wrath will always exist and we'll kill each other with something else. But guns do kill people pretty quickly. So I guess ideally I wish guns never existed, but they do exist, and I guess I would want something to be done rather than nothing. Like, I guess the right extremists would want nothing to be done about it, but then the Parkland book talks about, okay, these kids want to, you know, they don't want to completely take away guns, but they want more stricter gun laws. Yeah, and I would agree, because like I saw this one video of like Australia, and they did take away all their guns, but you know, I guess they're a different situation because they have a smaller population and stuff. And then now nobody, like there's like a YouTuber who like, he had a fake gun and he was like out in public with it, he was waving it around, nobody cared, because everybody knows there's no real guns out there. But and yeah, and I wish all of Earth was like that, I guess, or all, like America was like that. But yeah, we have guns, so yeah, and you can't really take them away.
Nope.
So I would want something to be done.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's a very complicated issue.
You can't really go. You can't step too far in one direction, because it's nobody's gonna agree with you at that point.
Yeah,
no one's agree with you anyway, regardless. It's a very politically prickly issue.
Yeah.
But you know, I am an adult over the age of 21. I can buy a rifle.
Even over the age of 18 is good enough, right?
No, not in California.
Oh, not in California?
Not in California. They changed it very recently.
Oh,
it was 21 for it's 18 for a long rifle and 21 for pistols and handguns.
And now it's both 21?
No, it's 21 in California for everything. Which is, I mean, like, okay,
it doesn't affect you because you're 21?
It doesn't really affect people in general. I guess it affects like the legal people.
The 19-year-old, the 18-year-olds are like, what the?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, honestly, real guns are expensive.
That is true.
I will say, like, it's very unlikely that you'll guns with long arm crimes are very rare.
Oh, long firearm guns?
Long arm guns
Yeah.
are much rare. It's almost all handguns.
Pistols, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, that's just
you
what
can
the crime
hide
is.
it. Yeah, you can hide it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of
those. I mean, I guess that's more like the school shootings, I guess, or like the bigger shootings.
But it's also it's not even just like the type of firearm. It also just depends on like the police response. Because if you actually look at, like, I don't recommend people do this, but like if you look at the different lists of events, like there's no. If long arm, more deadly. It depends on the response, you know. Like in Uvalde, no response, everyone's gonna die. But in like other places, fast response, less people die, that sort of thing. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
It is fun though. Like, it is fun to shoot at like a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's I did. Precision sports are fun. That's why I also did like art. Like when I was in addition to shooting, like I also did archery when I was younger. And I did it in Irvine too, but I stopped after graduation. Have you seen the differences in like archery, like the bare bone ones versus the super Olympic, like where they have all the stuff on it? Have you seen
that's
the Olympic
true. Yeah.
bows? Yeah, those are
they have like
interesting.
The scope ones.
They have like the rod that goes up front.
Uh-huh.
They got the clicker and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
but it's hard. Archery is hard because it's like a physical sport. I think that's one thing. Like,
you have to pull back the bow and use like your muscle,
and like you have to be consistent with it. I think that's one thing that like a lot of people kind of like precision shooting. It's actually kind of hard.
Yeah,
it's like precision. Anything's pretty difficult. Yeah. Are there any hobbies that you want like in the future? Maybe like a last question.
Hobbies that I want.
Yeah. You know, there's obviously editing. You know.
Yeah.
Church, that sort of thing. Any sort of wacky activity that would be cool.
Maybe something related to sports, I guess. I mean, I really wouldn't know because I would have already done it by now, or already tried it.
I mean, there's like cool sports, like have you heard of like highlight? It's like a sport where like everyone has like a mitt and you throw a ball into a wall and it bounces back.
Never heard of that.
Okay, it's supposed to be really dangerous because you're throwing like a baseball at really high speeds at people.
It's like that one game I see on like TikTok or the TikTok where they like throw a ball really hard at each other, they catch it and they throw it really hard at each other. It's like a dumb
spooky.
Yeah. That one trend, I think. But yeah. Oh, so I guess I did have a friend in archery. I wasn't that interested in archery, to be honest, but I had a friend in archery and he was like, oh, it's so much better. He prefers archery over shooting guns because archery is more, I guess, the feedback is more like, oh, you can see the arrow going through the air, but then shooting, you just so instantaneous, so fast.
Yeah.
But for me, I really wouldn't know. Maybe skydiving. I'm just kind of just naming names. Maybe scuba diving. I don't know. Just
cool.
I guess I've never tried those before, but I'd be down to skydive at some point. I'd be down to just go check out the whales or scuba dive or
so in general
ride a jet ski. Like
pretty like fast things in general though.
Maybe, yeah.
Like no, but like skydiving, scuba diving, I feel like these are pretty like high intensity,
I guess,
sports. So like
I've seen a lot of YouTubers like back in the day, especially like in 2012-ish, like, oh, they celebrate 1 million subscribers by jumping out of a plane, and now it's kind of like normal to jump out of planes on YouTube. So, but I mean, I'd be cool. I feel like the build up would be scarier than the actual fall, and when it comes to skydiving. But yeah, I'd be down to skydive.
How about rock climbing? Have you done that before?
Oh yeah, I've done that.
You're into that?
Yeah, it's really hard.
I know.
It's very there's a lot of you can only be so strong, and then after that you have to be like you need the wall IQ. You just need IQ. It's like when boxing there's like ring IQ. Like you just need the IQ. You just need to be smart. Last time I went actually was like I think a month ago, my friend, and it was like a gym. Like it's like a rock climbing gym. It's kind of just like a regular gym. Like when you go to a regular gym, there's like people lifting. The people that's been there longer than you will lift more than you. But if you've been going to the gym longer than everyone, you'll lift more than everyone else. Same thing with rock climbing. Like if you like there are kids like, or there's actually a lot of people around our age, and there's like there's like high schoolers or like younger kids than us or people slightly older than us, but they're just people that would destroy me and my friend, but they just seemed experienced. They seemed a lot more like they knew what they were doing. They probably just been going there for a lot while me and my friend were there like basically the first time, one of the first few times. So yeah, I have tried rock climbing. It is fun. It's difficult, but it's fun. And you have to be smart. You have to be smart. You have to be specifically, your fingers have to be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried it once. I was too heavy. My attributes did not add up. I was both heavy and weak on my upper body strength.
Right.
So it was not so good. So yeah.
Right. Like rock climbers, they have like really strong grip strength, and they can do like front levers. Like, do you know what a front lever is? Like they can easily do. Do you know what a front lever is?
No. What is that?
It's like when you're on a pull-up bar, and then you hold yourself up like this.
Oh, damn.
Like you're like sideways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm too weak for other physical sports. I'm good enough with like shooting and archery because they're not physical.
I mean, you're like slimmer now these days, right? I feel like
I'm pretty sure I got heavier.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I think I gained like 5 pounds.
Okay, like a little bit of weight.
Yeah. I've been slowly. No. Well, I have been going to the gym a little bit more recently, so I don't think I've been eating better though, so I think it just would have stayed still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I think I did run into you like in my third year of college once in the gym.
Yeah, in
right?
like the arc.
Yeah, it was like the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the last? That was the last time I saw you in person, huh?
Yeah, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that was a long time.
I was like over a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn. And now we're here again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now. Yeah, and then there's probably going to be another block of time where I don't see you in person.
And then, next time you come to San Jose, what would you come to San Jose for?
I don't know, just to visit you and my other friend, I guess.
I see.
That's probably the only reason.
You don't have any reason to go to NorCal in general, huh?
Yeah.
Dang, unlucky. Because I have a couple cousins who live not here, but like in Fountain Valley, so there's no reason to come here still, but like.
Except to visit them.
There's more. Yeah, okay, I see.
Oh, yeah. The Fountain Valley. Yeah.
I wish I lived closer to Socal.
Oh, to Southern. Yeah.
So it wasn't like a 7-hour drive.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, and especially in UCI, most people lived either in North Cal or SoCal, but then only like a few people are from Mid Cal or like Fresno. Like I know one guy from Fresno.
Bakersfield or something. I know
Bakersfield.
One person from Bakersfield.
Yeah, like Mid Cal. What's it called? Lost Hills.
Central California. I don't even know what Lost Hills is. I literally only know Bakersfield.
Yeah, Lost Hills is like that. It's like a very long city, but it's mostly a city where people just drive to get to NorCal or SoCal. So, and it's like a small population, but
unfortunate.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like out of state people, I don't even think I met like more than 5, if anything.
I've met like 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So
interesting. Yeah, I don't think like other UCs are like that. It's interesting, just depending on like which UCs or like UCLA. I feel like would probably have a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something. But like Irvine, a lot of people are, especially from like the Santa Ana, Tustin area, Costa Mesa area, very close. Not even like in LA, but like the city away.
Yeah,
that's something I noticed. Versus like in San Jose State was also kind of like the same. So I guess it's in general.
Right. What made you not go to San Jose State?
Because I was always going to be a business major. So I was actually not really. San Jose State would have been a safety for me because it's like a in-store, and I would have been for business, so it wouldn't have been for like computer science or engineering, which is actually kind of difficult for San Jose State. So it was either for me, it was Santa Clara University, which is a private school, but I also live very close by, so I would have commuted to there, or it would have been somewhere down here, and I didn't really want to commute. Like I didn't want to live at home, so I didn't choose Santa Clara. So yeah, I didn't want San Jose State. I also would have commuted, so I didn't want to live there either. But if it was like the safety, of course. So if I didn't have anything else, I would have chose that. Yeah. So good thing I got into Irvine because it's like close, but not too close.
Yeah, like, well, it's not that close, but not too far.
Mm-hmm.
It's I wouldn't say close. Well, I guess relative to out of state. Yeah, close.
It's not too far. That's what it is.
Far, but not too far.
Yeah, that's
it's
exactly
like 6-7 hours.
7 hours of a drive, which is bad, but I could drive there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too bad. It's just one long street on the 5.
Yeah,
which I'm actually gonna have to do in about
in a week.
Yeah. Damn.
Just by yourself?
My dad doesn't want me to do it by myself. I feel like I really could do it by myself, but my brother might come because my dad doesn't trust me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I can do it because I just drive. You just drive for like several hours on the 5, so I don't think it's fine. I think it's fine, but
yeah, you can put on this podcast and listen. Well, actually, I don't know if I can get this video. I'm not sure if I'll get this video out by then, but
no, dude, I don't want to. I'm not listening to my voice.
Listen to yourself.
My friends have like a ton of clips on Discord. Like we have a soundboard, and I hate hearing myself.
Oh, really?
Like, whenever my friends will have clips of like gameplay, and I just hear myself, I'm like, huh? So that's how I sound.
Wow.
I don't like it. I don't like how I sound.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like how I sound in the head.
Like so your close friends from
San Jose.
San Jose. Okay.
Yeah, they all moved back by now.
So like
from college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they went to other UCs like San Diego, Berkeley, yada yada. They all moved back.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the only one who hasn't moved back yet. but we all just kind of like just chill around. We just play games.
From like high school, or from high school?
Oh, yeah, from high school. From high school. It's the same friend group.
Oh, okay.
Alvin's actually part of that.
Alvin.
It's my other roommate. You probably didn't see him. Or you probably met him, actually.
I feel like I recognize that name. I feel like if I see him, I'll probably
you definitely recognize him if you see him.
Yeah.
So he's also from like high school, same high school. That's actually why we dormed together, because we went to the same high school with Wesley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're all in the same high school, and yeah, it would be nice to like hang out with them in real life for the first time in like a couple of years.
For sure.
Because like semester, quarter never lined up.
Yeah.
It'll be nice. It'll be nice to go back, but I'll miss these guys.
Oh, right, these guys.
Yeah.
Where did they? Yeah, what cities?
They're from this like.
Oh, they're from Socal.
Yeah, they're all Socal people.
Oh.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But it was fun. Like
For
3
sure.
years.
I mean, yeah, like
No.
when I moved out, like I kind of just had to say goodbye to everyone. I don't really talk to anyone from UCI these days.
Yeah.
Like I guess you right now, but then after this, probably not for a while again. But then, one guy actually who actually introduced me to the Foursquare Church. Him, I'll see him weekly maybe, or like somewhat weekly. He doesn't come every week, but most of the time he comes. And yeah, I met him, but other than that, I don't. I've met over 100 people at UCI, and I don't really talk to any of them. I just talk to my high school or junior high friends. Yeah, high school and junior high friends. So.
Yeah. No, I think like maybe Zero might be a little bit of a less successful thing, but I think like having one group of close friends, I think that's a success.
Yeah, that's enough
in general. Like that's more than I need. Like the people in my hall.
Yeah.
To talk to each other. That's really nice. We've like kept it close since first year. It's pretty nice. I feel like that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
But it's just like my mom said. Yeah, lives diverge after college. That's what they should. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess our situation was a little more unfortunate because we had a whole year off. We had a whole year and quarter off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess 25% of yours and 33% of mine, or a little more than that even. It's like 30% of yours and like 40% of my college experience was robbed, or socially was robbed. I did meet like two people. I actually did meet two people over like that whole year of us being online. But and I actually did run into them in person too. Like one of them I actually hung out with as well. Like we had lunch.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I feel like the people that I met myself, I haven't really kept up with, even though I probably ought to.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But I got my close friend group. It's all right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, so
anything else?
I guess we can conclude
it's
this.
It's a good time to end it.
Yeah, we can conclude this podcast. I guess this is like a little over 2 hours. So thank you for watching this episode with Patrick, and I guess we'll see you in another one. This is actually the end of I feel like this is the end of season 1 of this podcast. We may see a more fancier setup next episode. We might.
Upgrades, people. Upgrades.
Yeah, for sure. But that's Podcast with Patrick.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell button.
Indeed.